Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of Blue Honor, Optic Operation Deceit, and the Trilogy Trilogy. Today I decided to do a different kind of reading. If you look in my Scribbles and WIPs section, you'll see different pieces that I'm working on currently. Things that have kind of been left fallow. That I'll pick up later or have been in the works. I may actively be working on. So those are indications of where I'm headed next. One of those pieces is Oliver Diglebee, and that is a children's story that I wrote back in the early 2000s, and I haven't done much with it. It is sort of on the website in its entirety. I have done some artwork for it, and that will be included in the reading. You get to look at some of the drawings that I've done. They're not completely stellar, they're just line art, little scribbles and stuff that I've done. But you'll get an idea, and it's a rhyming poem, probably about 3 pages long, and it's based on a small monkey named Oliver who lives in a pet store with the pet store owner, Mr. McCree. And let's not wait any longer. Here you go. Oliver Diglebee by Kay Williams. Oliver was a small monkey, no older than 2 or 3. He lived in the pet store owned by Mr. McCree. Oliver was lonely. He had no family. This hurt the heart of storekeep Mr. McCree. One morning, Mr. McCree came to the store early, worried and sick over little Digglebee. In the window he saw poor Oliver Diglebee. He sat up alone all the night, and only 2 or 3. Mr. McCree went through the door into his cage, feeling his heart fray. The baby monkey looked quite tattered. "What is the matter, young Oliver Diglebee?" asked Mr. McCree. "I was alone, Mr. McCree, all the night, and I am only 2 or 3, Oliver answered, pulling his small white diaper. "It was so dark, and I was afraid," he stood on his toe tips to say. Oliver touched the nose of the storekeeper. "I played not, but hid in the corner, covered by my blanket and the wrapper's comforter." Digglebee stepped back to show Mr. McCree. Mr. McCree looked upon the blankets twined. His thoughts twirled about his mind. No toy was touched, not even the small bit of Digglebee's twine. "Oh, Digglebee, oh, Digglebee," he sighed weightily. "Maybe I should take you home with me." Oliver held out his palm. He shut his eyes and shook his head. What he wanted was a mom. "No, Mr. McCree, but I will thank thee. I want to go home with a mommy, or maybe a whole family," Oliver said sternly. Mr. McCree looked at Oliver Diglebee, eyes so large and sadly. There was naught that he could do, but he hoped he might find the monkey, his hoped-for family. Mr. McCree's eyes rose. He looked past the tip of his great nose. The sun was up and the streets were full. It was time to open the store till. The world would not, for either of them, stand still. With a weighty heart, the storekeep opened his doors for business. It was his job to sell, and sell he would, no matter the monkey's illness. So in the window behind cold bars, Oliver Diglebee sat for the day. At the desk behind him, Mr. McCree watched his friend worriedly. What could he do? What could he say? His brow sweated, and his palms too. He must find a home for his monkey chum. For not today or the next would he go home, not until he found little Digglebee a home. On went the day, the sun walked the sky, and still no home for little Digglebee. Oliver hung his head. He watched the night approach with dread. Another night alone, and he was only 2 or 3. Then suddenly out of nowhere, there was she. An angel, perhaps? Then 2, no, 3. Oliver stared with large brown eyes. His mouth hung slack and his tongue was tied. 1, 2, 3. It was an entire family. On the tips of her toes, a green-eyed girl looked into his pet store window. She smiled and twirled her red-curled hair. at Digglebee did she stare. In a leap she stood inside, with father and mother full of pride. The young girl's freckled face showed such joy, love. Digglebee knew it was his mommy. At last she came for her boy, but move he did not. Digglebee stood dumb like a toy. I want the brown one, the girl did say. She pointed her finger at Digglebee's cage. Mr. McCree felt his heart leap. At last a patron to adopt dear Digglebee into their home. No, dear Emily, not today, father said. We came for a puppy, not a monkey. Would you one of them like to see? We said a pet I could have, the one of my choice. Will you not bend? She pouted deep. It is my pick, you said. Emily continued to whine, with a thick bottom lip turned on end. A moment passed, a brief exchange. Father bent on bended knee and took the hand of sweet Emily. Now, dear, mother said, that is what you said. Father looked to mother. She stood with hands on hip. Father laughed at his slip. As it is, I must keep my word. A pet I promised, one of your choice. It is your pick, dear Emily, just as I said. Father caved. Together they stood and went to Mr. McCree. Father asked after little Digglebee. With face all red and no breath left, Mr. McCree replied with speed, a fine pet he is, little Oliver Diglebee. No finer is there in this great country. He runs and leaps, he hides and cheeps. He's a bird, cat, dog, and fish, all wrapped up in this small, furry bliss. No fuss need be made, Digglebee is already trained. But what of food and water, mother asked quite practically. Does he walk or use the restroom, Mr. McCree? Dear lady, dear gentleman and friend, he addressed the family of 3. He smiled at the young girl and continued gleefully. He is like to you and me, near as close to man as any pet could be. A part of your family he would be, like a brother of 2 or 3, said Mr. McCree. But how much? A friend, a pet such as he must be quite costly, father worried, thinking the small sum he did carry. My dear friends, said Mr. McCree, I think I might surprise even me. To you today, a special on little Oliver Diglebee. Mr. McCree smiled, touching the tip of Emily's little nose. To you, my friends, he shall be free. The girl laughed and danced with glee. How could her father say no to such a spree? After all, a pet he promised and one of her choice. Mother and father looked at each other. They scratched their chins and thought it over. Digglebee stood at the edge of his cage. He looked quite gnarled and quite afraid. Yet something in his large brown eyes spoke to their hearts, a truth they could not deny. Oliver counted, not 1, but 2 or 3. He needed a home, and he saw it with mother, father, and Emily. Please, dear family, Oliver said at last. A home I need, a home with thee. I cannot sleep alone, I am only 2 or 3. If you will make me yours, I promise to be good. Please not another night in this dark store, it is no good. Mother sighed, and father smiled. Their hearts he touched and beguiled. It was 2 or 3 when off they walked, mother, father, Emily, and a very happy Oliver Diglebee. The end. So hopefully you enjoyed the story. Oliver is a pretty uplifting tale. It's great for kids. I've gotten some feedback from other parents. They really like it. There are some tough words that you'll hear used in there, but I also think that we shouldn't shy away from using tougher words with children because those are teaching moments. And if your kids have a question about what a word means, that's your opportunity to teach them something. So hopefully you enjoyed the reading of Oliver Diglebee. Till next time, thanks. Don't forget to subscribe and join my newsletter on the Blue Honor blog. Go to authorkwilliams.com. Thanks. Bye.